Hello and welcome to the first video on devication. My name is Sebastian and this is the first video in my series about CRUD apps. In this first video we're going to take a look at creating and reading data, which is the first two letters of CRUD in CRUD apps. I'm going to be using PHP and SQL to build the application, but all of this can be applied to any sort of technologies. If you're interested in checking out the code, you can check the link in the description. If you want an introduction to CRUD, you can check out the video on my personal channel where I go into the basics about what each of the letters in CRUD stands for. So in this video, I am going to make the required preparations to connect my app to a database and then set up creating and reading of data. I have prepared a database class which I'm going to be using to connect the app to the database. In the constructor of the class, I have made a new PDP instance. For this class, I have prepared two functions, query and execute. Query takes the SQL query and prepares it so that it's ready to be sent to the database. The execute function takes the attributes that you have that you want to send into the query and then executes it to the server. PHP makes it very easy to connect a app to a database. It has a lot of functionality that helps you on the way, and the PDO class takes care of the more complicated things. So next we have to make a function that inserts the data to the database. To do this, we first need to understand the insert into statement. You have to first specify what table you want to insert the data to, which in our case is text, and then what columns you want to insert data into. And we're only going to be inserting the text, since the ID has an auto increment which automatically adds another higher number each time you insert a new one to that table. After that, you specify the values that you want to insert, and in the PHP class you have a lot of safety features which sanitizes the input query. So we're going to be using an associative array in the execute function, which has a key value pair with the value. So we're going to be doing colon text, which will be replaced in the execute function with our value. The function we are going to be creating, we will call input, which is what it does, and the only parameter it uses is the text that we are going to be inserting into the database. And here we are going to be doing a first we do the query, because we have to first prepare it, and we can just copy paste this one here, and then we will be using the execute function to actually send the data. And here we have an array, which is an associative array. So the first is the key, which is going to be the same as this one, and then the actual value from the input function. So this is the function that we're going to be using to insert the data. To be able to test the function, we have to send the data to the backend, which we're going to be doing by using a HTML form, which I have prepared. It takes in the text as an input with the type text, and it just sends it to the same URL that's to the root URL. And here we have a quick backend where I check if we have a text, and then we unset the post and then reloads the site, the page. So the next step is to actually send the data, which we're going to be doing by first importing the DB class. Which is in classes/db, and then we're going to be creating a database object. DB class, and the constructor has no parameters to set. So then we use this one to call the input function that we made earlier with the text as the parameter. So this is the only thing we have to do to send the data. So we are inputting the text from the form through the input function, and we sense it with this query, which then is executed and sent to the database. So the next step is to test if this is working. And here's the actual form, and we do, for example, hello, and submit it, and it reloads the page. We don't get any feedback because we haven't coded that feedback, but we can check in the database and see if this works. And it did. We have a text with an ID where the text is hello. So the form is working, and we have successfully managed to create data in a database. The next step is to show all of the input text in a row below to be able to see what kind of data we have in the database. We do this by doing a select query where we do select, and we can take everything because we doesn't care, which is this, and we say from, and then the table that we want to pull it from, which is this table, texts, and we want to take all of them so we don't have to do a where part of the query. This we're going to be doing in a function. We can call this output. In this function, we first have to prepare the query as before, which we do with the query function, and we're going to be using the previously made scope query. And next we have to execute the function, which we are going to be doing as exactly the same as before. And since we don't have any parameters, we don't have to send anything. And then we have to return the data that we received, which we do by doing fetch all. And we do a fetch associative so that we have a key value pair. And this is the function that we're going to be using to output the data. Below the form, we're going to be displaying the resulted data from the database. We have to get the database object and then use the output. And somehow we have to display this. And for now, I'm just going to be using a war DOM, which is just going to be showing the key value pairs. And now let's see if this is working. And it is. You can see that we have the first first text was sent in with its ID and the text value. So if we do another one now, level 2, because I'm creative, and then submit, you can see that we have another one. The next step in the process of making a CRUD app is the last 2 letters, which is update and delete. I'm going to be doing these 2 in my next video in this series. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please press like and subscribe to not miss the next video in this series. Hej svejs!